All right, we are on. So we should start seeing people in the chat room very soon. Go up here and hit play. There we go. Fancy graphics and everything.
Oh, yeah, playing with the boys.
Yeah, just put it there. I'll grab it if I need it for the script.
Okay, see you later.
Printer ran out of ink. That's not good. We weren't expecting that.
That is the worst. It always happens, right? If you had to print something for an appointment tomorrow, you wouldn't have run out of ink. But the fact that you needed it right now,
correct.
That's why you ran out of ink.
Correctamundo.
Howdy, Robbie.
Hey.
Hello, A.
How are you?
Hey, buddy. Hey, guy. Danny
Hey.
the Dolphin, first one in the chat room. What's up?
Obviously.
What's up? All right, babe. We'll just set that.
How are you, A?
I'm
nice
good.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you, too. You look nice and tan. Did you get some time outside this week?
I actually went golfing yesterday.
Yay! You look like
I
it.
mean,
It's good.
See if we can get
I'm
one
a
of those together.
bad golfer, but I still get the same amount of sunshine. Plus,
Are you tan?
I walk more. So
Nice. Are you tanned, rested, and ready for 4 more years of golf?
yeah, no.
Do we have a 1?
Isn't that a one? Oh,
Is there anything before that?
I don't know, babe.
Bummer.
I didn't touch here. Nope. I didn't touch it after you did.
We got script problems, you guys. In the chat room, just hang out for 2 seconds. We'll get this figured out. Move these back. Can you take this over there, sweetie?
To save
Hand me my
paper,
computer.
I just always start printing from item number 4 where I'm important. I don't even have like the first page. Sorry.
That's the way it goes.
I feel like
All
that's
right.
fair.
We'll check your...
Am I on? I'm not on,
No,
I don't think.
your audio is on. We'll check
it?
your camera on the fly.
Okay. Hey, guys. Hey, Danny.
All right.
Hey,
I
Keith.
think
Nice to see you.
Mario, Mike, Tracy, what's going on, everybody?
Hugheses. Nice to see you guys.
Sweetie, you ready to go
I
live?
am.
In 3, 2, 1. Should have made like a
Hi, guys.
fighter sign.
Should we tilt that a little?
Tilt it how, babe?
Just so that I'm more in the picture. Yeah. Hi, you guys. Oh, I'll take this off.
Rotate it. Rotate it. Yeah. Okay, and then let's check your other camera.
I'm so burned out because the window's still
We got to
open.
check that stuff earlier.
I know,
That's a bummer. All right, so back to main. Here we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Top Gun. This is our story smack about Top Gun.
Yeah.
And as you may have heard us talking before, because we're very professional, our printer ran out of ink as we printed it 10 minutes for the show. So we're going to do the best we can to get through everything. This is episode... Oh, no, that's for you. Is that where we start right there?
Yeah.
Awesome. Then while we're waiting to get started with the actual show, let us bring on our pal and...
Well, that's a little early because
Yes,
we're
Rob?
right at the beginning, right?
I just want to let the people in the chat room
Okay,
see
cool.
Rob. Then we'll tell you to shut up.
Pretend that we haven't heard
Pretend
you.
we haven't, and like pretend you don't exist yet. Everybody in the chat room, say hi to Rob. Rob, say hi to everybody in the chat room.
Hi, Rob.
Hi, everybody in the chat room.
Can I have more in my headphones?
Yes. Hold on.
I figured. Yeah, that's way better. Okay, cool.
All right.
Thank
cool.
you, guys.
Here we go. All right. This is the magic of live TV, you guys, which we then chop up to be live audio. This is going to be very fun. So, baby, you ready?
I am. Are we just
Okay.
going to go live from here?
Do you want me to turn off the main room lights? Are those too bright?
Yes.
Okay.
You do that, and I will say we're about to do the StorySmack intro for the podcast, you guys. But you guys know this. This is episode 72 of StorySmack. And we are normally doing this, and then we'll do another intro, so I'll save all the goodness for that. But, of course, I am A.B. Sigler. Oops. You're a lot closer than I thought you were.
Joey, my eye!
Look at Joey, my eye.
This is my partner, Scott Sigler. Say hello, Scott Sigler.
Hello, everyone. How are you?
And you are a #1 New York Times
we're not there
bestselling.
yet.
Well, we do it twice.
We do.
No, it looks like it.
No, we start right here. Intro. So switch to main.
All right, I'm just saying that's
All right,
the only place
I gotta
say
say,
that.
this is going to be the best story smack ever.
Watch it all come together. Watch the
Yes!
magic happen, ladies and gentlemen. All right, here we
So
go.
obviously Robbie is here. You guys say hello to Robbie. What are you
Okay,
drinking
we
out
already
there?
did that part.
What are you
we do
drinking?
that when we start the podcast.
We do not, according to the script.
We do that before we start the podcast.
Okay. Switch to main. Go ahead. Let's go for it.
So
Ask
what are you
he's
drinking, Robbie?
Hi, A.
How are you?
All right, so I'm actually drinking a wonderful drink that Miss A found for me because she found some Top Gun themed drinks. So I am
true.
drinking the Maverick, which is amaretto, rum, grapefruit, and pineapple.
Is
And it's
that a dehydrated slice of pineapple on the edge of your
Yes,
glass?
look how fancy
That's very fancy.
That's a SoCal drink right there.
We-
tastes like smart assery and daddy issues.
Well, yeah, sounds good. We on this coast are drinking the Top Gun. This is Luxardo cherry liqueur, pineapple juice, and orange flavored vodka. And we haven't tried it yet, so.
Good.
It tastes a lot. It tastes a little like a painkiller, actually, which is
Can
nice.
you bring that coaster over here and we'll put it in the
Yeah,
middle?
exactly.
There we go. Thank you.
So that's very good.
I'll give it a taste. Cheers to all of you out in the chat room.
Clink.
Tastes like a painkiller, I think, a little
It's
bit.
pretty good.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
Yum.
Yep.
Good stuff.
So we are about to talk about Top Gun, as you guys all know. I'm going to stop again and do, I think, the third intro for this podcast, which will be the podcast intro when it goes audio only into the feed. So if you guys will bear with me for a minute, then we'll get into the buffoonery.
All right. You ready, babe?
I am. Are you?
Okay.
Do you want to record it?
I'm going to record it right now. Hold on. Let me hit
I'm
the
so
start
burned out.
recording. And 3, 2, 1.
This is episode 72 of StorySmack. This is a podcast about stories and storytellers in the world of pop culture. My name is A.B. Sigler, audiobook narrator and founding partner at Empty Set Entertainment.
And my name is Scott Sigler, #1 New York Times bestselling novelist. And most important, I was inverted.
And as ever, we have with us our good friend and Empty Set movie maven, Rob Otto. How are you, Robbie?
I am excellent, and I know you can't see this on the podcast part, but I did get my old bomber jacket out.
No!
Yes.
Okay,
I would
that
be
is
wearing
so
it except
badass.
for two things. It's about 95 degrees in Michigan right now.
All right.
And it doesn't quite fit the way it did in 1987. So
Yes.
we're just gonna show it.
Did we
Look
drive
at-
to, was it Traverse City to get those or something like
It
that?
was Traverse City where we had to drive. All the way.
Wait a minute. Did you have one too?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness
Oh yeah,
gracious.
we drove. I don't know who else got one. Me and Rob drove to Traverse City, which is an hour away from Sheboygan, Michigan, where we grew up, and it was just time to buy bomber jackets.
I mean, sometimes you got to do that.
I
I
feel
have a
like-
serious question, gentlemen. Pre or post Top Gun?
will this be
definitely
post
post.
Top Gun?
Oh, no doubt about it.
I love it so
And
much.
And then
in my
the
head,
the aviator sunglasses with the little like leather flaps on the
Oh,
side.
yeah.
Yeah. I got a pair of those too.
I seem to remember we were going to get some kind of unit insignia on our
Yeah,
jackets,
for
but
sure,
I can't
for
say
sure.
for sure if that was the case. It was many years ago. But so as you can see, we rather like this movie.
Yeah,
Way back
and for
when.
you guys who are listening, we are reviewing Top Gun, 1986's top grossing movie, Top Gun. This episode is also sponsored for the first time. We are sponsored by Heartbeat Hot Sauce. Heartbeat Hot Sauces have been featured on 3 seasons of the very popular YouTube series The Hot Ones, which is fantastic. If you haven't seen it, it's super fun. And if you go to heartbeathotsauce.com and use the code Sigler, Sigler, you save 20% on your entire order. FDO, you'll pimp them again later in the show, but for
I
now,
certainly
can you
will.
give us
I
the
certainly
movie
will.
guy intro for Top Gun?
Movie guy intro for Top Gun. The Top Gun Naval Fighter Weapons School is where the best of the best train to refine their elite flying skills. When hotshot fighter pilot Maverick is sent to the school, his reckless attitude and cocky demeanor puts him at odds with the other pilots, especially the cool and collected Iceman. But Maverick isn't only competing to be the top fighter pilot, he's also fighting for the attention of his beautiful flight instructor, a woman named Charlie Blackwood. There we go.
So we always, at this point in the show, we talk a little bit about the financials.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, so Top Gun back in 1986 cost $15 million to make in 1986. And that's production budget only. We're going to get into some of the fun things about this movie having to have contracted with the Navy. And the Navy does all sorts of kind of crazy tie-in stuff because they want to maximize their benefit too. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But production budget, $15 million in 1986, which today would be about $37.7 million. So pretty hefty.
It's still a pretty, I mean, for what you see on the screen, it's a pretty cheap movie.
It is. Oh, for sure, for sure. And this is one of the first times we see just giant budgets from the Bruckheimer, what becomes the Bruckheimer Bay. At this point, it's Bruckheimer Simpson, but becomes this big set piece thing. And they did do a lot for that much money. It made $357.1 million
From a $15 million
at
budget?
the box office.
Holy crap.
I could not tell you what time frame that covers since 1996, so I'm not going to convert it to 2021 dollars just because I think it might be a longer total than like the first year of release, and I couldn't find otherwise. So
Okay.
we have general thoughts on the films. Robbie, what did you think on the film?
This is another one of those 80s movies that actually ages pretty well. You know what? And I think part of it, we'll get into it when we talk about Kelly McGillis's character, but I think her character is one of the reasons why it actually ages so well. And just in general, you know, the fighting, and they don't really name the bad guys, you know, that kind of stuff. So the practical special effects, so it doesn't look cheesy because they used real ships and real pilots and real airplanes, that the movie, you get into the characters, there's just enough gravitas there, and then it's all the action stuff, which is really well shot and really well edited, and has a touch of realism to it, that the movie goes really well. And it shocks me when you say those numbers, that we've had to wait this long for them to realize they need to get a sequel to this movie out. I mean, how there wasn't one 2 years later, I have no frickin' idea.
And I will tell you from my perspective, my general thoughts are twofold, and I'll keep them very brief. One is I completely agree with your assessment. I'll talk a little bit later about the one thing that doesn't hold up for me, which is amazing for a film that is so testosterone driven. So like, you know, dudes in planes. Like there's one thing, and it has nothing to do with any of that. But I will also say this. Last night, we were rewatching this last night because we've both seen it a zillion times. At first, we thought, well, we're not going to watch it. And then we were like, nah, we got to do the right thing. And I'll tell you this. Poor Scott, I had to stop him. I had to stop 2 or 3 times to say, like, if I have genuinely believed for 30 years that spoiler alerts, you guys, if Maverick had been less of a maverick, Goose would still be alive. And for me, that has been very important. And then when we rewatched it last night, I realized, like, well, yes, of course, but then it wouldn't be Top Gun. And I quite literally never thought of that. I thought you could just be a little less of a, and your best friend and only family, your own words, your only family would still be alive. So I love that I kind of got that revelation 30 years later. That, of course, it wouldn't be the same movie.
And I'm not sure we'd have a star of a movie named Milk Toast either.
Exactly.
So
precisely.
Yeah.
Exactly. You
Just
could see
saying.
that on his helmet. Milk Toast wouldn't work out very well at all. But I honestly, I was like kind of a little crabby at Maverick until last night when I realized, like, yeah, sure, of course, but that's not this movie. What about you?
Let's see. If I'm doing this correctly, adjusted for inflation, I believe 37.7 million is 92.5
Well,
million.
that
Is
was
right?
it's 351.1 million.
351.
0.1.
1100000. That can't be right.
it made $98 trillion.
It did make $92 million, I think. Yeah, it's a $92.2 million in 2021 dollars. Yeah.
No,
That's
86.
86.
900.
This is
million.
completely screwed. Forget
I
it.
tried not to do this.
Yeah, I know.
What are your general thoughts on the movie?
I thought it aged pretty well. I don't know. I'm a little thrown off right now. Let me see if I can get my head back in the game
math is
here.
hard for Scott. I think we should just go on. Hey.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was a good movie. Let's move on.
Oh, no. Oh, no. So you, if you do want to go, do you want to call up the photos?
Yeah, let's go to the cast.
So, Robbie, I
Hold on.
think you're going to start with the screenwriters.
Yeah, screenwriter. So this is a cool story about how this came about, too. There was actually an article in California Magazine in 1983 called Top Guns, and it was all about Miramar. It was all about the Navy flight school that was there on the West Coast. And Jerry Bruckheimer saw it and read it and brought it to his partner, Don Simpson, and says, this is a movie. Like, just this article is a freaking movie. And so they handed it off. Jim Cash, Jack Epps Jr., who write this movie, but they went back to the guy who wrote the article, whose name was Ehud Yaneh, and they talked to him so much, they gave him a co-writing credit on the movie. So the guy who wrote the article that became the idea that turned it into a movie actually got residuals when we watched this movie last night. So that's
Wow,
that's
and you got a
pretty
lot of
cool.
residuals because I know this off the top of my head because I can calculate inflation. In today's dollars, this movie earned $862,111,724 and 45 cents. So there.
Yeah.
So I
That's a
clearly
little
know how
better.
to do all of the math.
And you guys know the idea of a one-sentence pitch, right? You've got to be able to break it down into one sentence. And
Right.
so when
Sure.
Bruckheimer came to Simpson, he said, "This is Star Wars on Earth." And Simpson said, "Well, yeah, we're making that movie."
Absolutely.
It was pretty straightforward. And that once the screenplay was set, that went over to director Tony Scott. Steven Soderbergh, David Cronenberg, and John Carpenter turned it down, the chance to direct this. Tony Scott, brother of Ridley Scott, which is a very talented family, was hired. Scott's only previous film credit was the Dark House film The Hunger, but he directed a commercial with a jet racing a car. I remember that commercial. And that sold him for the project. Paramount was nervous and tried keeping him on a short leash. Scott was fired on 3 different occasions for going over budget and over schedule. He was always rehired and was able to finish the film.
And this
It's
is the thing that
phenomenal.
happens with Tony Scott throughout his career, tragically cut short recently with his death. And he does this all along, which is kind of interesting because there are some writers I know, you among them, who know what to fight for. You also know sometimes what to let go when they're like, we can't use this name. You're like, okay, I'll change it. All right, well, they can't really have this much violence in their relationship. You're like, nope, not going to work. And that works. It always works that way for you, too. So it's
Right.
kind of fun to see that he was, forgive my use of this word, but he was a little bit of a maverick director.
He was a Maverick director. That's a good point.
I didn't mean to do that, but he really was because he was trying to make the best Top Gun he could, and he probably did, I think. Moving on, the producers. So Jerry Bruckheimer is the name you should all know. And at the time, back in 1986, he was producer partners with Don Simpson. And although their production partnership was cut short by Don Simpson's accidental death at 52 years old in 1996, they were wildly successful. Maybe you have heard of some of their other movies.
What movies have they made, hey?
Dangerous Minds.
I've heard of it.
Crimson Tide.
I've heard of it.
Days of Thunder.
Oh, yes.
All the bad boys. I kind of love this. Don Simpson gets credit for as a producer, gets credit for every Bad Boys movie that gets made. So even the ones after his death, he gets, which is great for his family and his estate and that sort of thing. It's really nice.
I bet the director still said he interfered too much.
Probably so. They made a little movie you may or may not have heard of called Beverly Hills Cop.
I have
together.
heard of that.
Yeah. They made The Rock. No one gets off the rock.
No one gets off the rock.
And my favorite of their producing combination, a little movie called Flashdance.
Oh, is that
They
right?
were maniacs on the floor. So Jerry Bruckheimer's still alive, of course, and moves on to a partnership with producer Michael Bay. If you look at Jerry Bruckheimer's influence on American cinema, it is unmistakably this Top Gun type of thing. This is where he sits. This is where he gets seated into, I know how to entertain people for 3 hours at a time. And he does such a good job of it. And of course, Michael Bay adds more explosions, more pretty faces, more
Michael Bay
dramatic sets.
does like his explosions, and of course, some of the chat room is of course going to come at lens flare, but he does like his explosions. Rob, that brings
Let's
us
get on to the main man.
Mr. 80s, if you will, the main man, Tom Cruise.
Yeah, but at the time, they weren't sure he was going to be Mr. 80s, right? He had done that thing. He did his career right. Started small, a small part in Endless Love, and then he works his way up, supporting characters and Taps and Outsiders and Losing It, where he still had that awful snaggle tooth in Losing It. I mean, you can't even look at his face anymore. But then he gets his teeth fixed, gets Risky Business, All the Right Moves, Legend, and people are like, this guy might be something. And so they put him in this movie, and it was specifically written for Tom Cruise. When the guys saw him in All the Right Moves, Steph Georgievich, the football player.
Great movie.
They kind of
Love
took
it.
that attitude, chip on the shoulder, something to prove attitude, and put it right into this character. So it was kind of, a very different character, but written with Tom Cruise in mind. And then Paramount says, well, no, we're not going to go with Tom Cruise. This is going to be a huge movie. We're going to put an established box office star. We're going to put Patrick Swayze or Nick Cage or John Cusack or Emilio Estevez, somebody like that, so that we can bank on right from the get-go. But the funny thing is, all those guys said no. So they accidentally have to go with Tom Cruise, even though Paramount didn't want to. but they end up going with the producer's first choice. And obviously, I mean, you can't see this movie with anybody else in it. And obviously,
you can't. It's hard to even imagine it at this point without the cheesy
and the way
and grin.
It skyrockets from there. You look back, and this is really the big budget, big picture launch of Tom Cruise's career.
I don't disagree at all. But also those movies you named, in and of themselves, his first 7 movies are unstoppable. Even today, they're unstoppable.
Fantastic
It's
movies.
insanely awesome.
It's a huge start to a huge career. I mean, he's one of the things that actors and their teams have to be good at is picking the right project, because you often watch major stars rolling along, then they do a dog, then they do another dog, and they're not done per se. They've still got a great career ahead of them, but their time at the top of the marquee and $20 million of film, etc., that goes away. And Tom Cruise's team stretch that out a lot longer than a lot of other actors.
Do you think that any of that is on Tom Cruise? Like, do you think he was good at listening to his team? Because
I don't have any info, but it's probably, I would guess it's a combo, but he's just endured for so long. His instincts were pretty good for a while. Then they went through some trouble, and then of course, then he came back in Tropic Thunder.
Yeah.
And did a bunch
Well,
of fun
listen,
stuff.
whoever he listened to get his teeth fixed, he should just keep listening to that person.
Rob,
I think they did.
Rob, I
think
wasn't
he
sure
did.
I was going to mention this, but I had, if you guys don't know this in the chat room, and Rob, I know you don't know this, I got braces at 33 because I lost a tooth early on, like when I was back here, and my midline, what is wrong with him is his midline shifted because he was missing molars, and so his teeth kind of did this, and my teeth did the same thing. And when I went to an orthodontist, like, something's happening with my bite, I went to the dentist, they sent me to the orthodontist. The orthodontist was like, this is what's happening to Tom Cruise. And I was like, well, cool. I don't have Tom Cruise's money. Is there a way for me to fix this and afford it? And I had braces for what they promised was 9 months, but it was really 2.5 years.
So now we
well, then I'm glad you listened to your people too.
Me too.
Well done.
we come to an actor who did not make as good choices, as good of a choice as we say, but who was a big star in the day. Mr. Val Kilmer, of course, who played Iceman. He'd had success with Top Secret and Real Genius, one of my favorite movies.
Fantastic.
I believe it was Socrates who said, "I drank what?" That line's always it has always stuck with me. Val Kilmer did not want to play Lieutenant Tom Iceman Kaczynski, but he was contractually obligated to do it by the studio. It may be the best save of the movie.
Oh, for sure.
Kilmer ad-libbed his coughing and saying bullshit to Mav's story when he's talking about being inverted. And he just did a great job in the movie. It was pretty clear that Kilmer was not the star of this.
What a great choice of photo, Scott.
But this shows Kilmer's breadth when he was playing the lead singer of The Doors.
Yeah.
It may or may not be true that many of us also spiked our hair and got the tips frosted.
No,
I'm not sure that has anything to do with Iceman. I'm just saying. I'm just putting it out there.
Rob, I'm pretty sure.
And then his career has not, it's been a long time. He had a really good career. Of course, he was Batman. I missed the Batman picture. But then he did a movie called The Salton Sea.
Salton Sea, and it's so good. It's so good.
Is bonkers. If you guys haven't seen The Salton Sea, he is spectacular in it. The movie is it's very different for a movie.
It's definitely an indie movie. It's a really good movie. Yeah. I would also say if you're not into indies, you can watch The Saint, which is less of a good movie, but still a spectacular performance by Kilmer and a really, really fun romp of a movie. I will say, you mentioned like he hasn't gone on. He kept from the public this is him somewhat today, and he kept from the public for literally 15 years that he was battling throat cancer. So everybody saw his appearance change and him drop out of public life, and he did these little bitty things because he didn't want to share. He didn't want to go through that journey publicly, which is every man's right, every person's right. But I'm glad that he did, because he has done so much good work even after that. With he does Mark Twain now, right? Isn't it Mark?
Yeah,
it is Mark Twain.
Yeah. He's got a lot of new credits coming out.
Right, and I think, finally getting past a point where he thought, I don't know, because he hasn't shared a lot about that journey, but I think he got to a point where he knew he would live.
Right.
And he was like, cool, now I'm still a creator, I have to do. And I'm so glad he did, because he is a talent and an American icon.
Mr. Val Kilmer, Once Upon a Time a Batman. That is his story. And then we move on to somebody who probably is the most feted, lauded actor in the bunch, I think, and that is Anthony Edwards, who just
you did
slayed
such a
this role.
good job choosing these photos. I have to mention, you're pulling. There are so many famous people in this movie, and you're pulling these beautiful, iconic roles that they had, and they've had like 20 or 30 roles, so it's really nice. So Anthony Edwards plays Goose. You all know him, but you know and love him as Goose. But the reality is, he played Goose in Top Gun. Had success before Top Gun in Zodiac, in Miracle Mile, and of course in Revenge of the Nerds, right? But here's the thing, you guys. He is lauded and awarded and does his best work on TV. Mm-hmm. He is best known as this role of Dr. Mark Green on the first 8 seasons of ER, for which he received a Golden Globe Award and 6 Screen Actor Guild Awards, and was nominated 4 consecutive times for a Primetime Emmy. I think, it's a funny thing because the Emmys are wholly separate from the Oscars, but because production budgets on movies are so extravagant and they're a one shot, you don't quite understand what it takes to be an actor day in and day out for 8 seasons on a TV show. And that he routinely got nominated and routinely won makes him an enormously talented human being and well-deserved. It is. And
this show may be largely forgotten by the Utes, but he was awesome in it.
Right. And I think that all of that he brought all of that talent, of course, to Top Gun in what is clearly a supporting role, with all the aplomb to make not only Maverick seem like if Goose thinks Maverick is a good guy, everybody thinks Maverick is a good point. Guy. But here's the other thing. Goose also thinks Iceman is a good guy. And therefore you kind of don't you don't create the real big rivalry, like, I will kill you. And that helps, I think. It does.
But you also, after, spoiler alert, after Goose's death, the only nice thing Iceman says in the whole movie until the very end is when he's trying to be a human being and console Maverick after Goose dies. And just everybody liked Goose. That's the only thing he can come up with. But it's true. And this would be 100% testosterone movie if not for Goose throwing out one-liners and laughs and giggles. It would have been 100 miles an hour for 90 minutes. And instead, Goose gives us a little tap the brakes every once in a while. Let's shake off some of the heavy stuff and have a little giggle. That's his role, and he's good at it.
And he's so good at it that you really believe that this gentleman this character in the show, he does that all the time. He's the guy who diffuses the people getting antsy in the checkout line at the grocery store. He's always there with a joke, because when he's with his wife. Later on, when they're all with, he's like, she's like my favorite. We'll talk about it later, but there's my favorite scene in the whole movie, and he's just like everybody's asking him for something, and he's always saying yes, darling, yes, sir, absolutely, because he's the everyman.
I thought his role was the glue that tied it all together. Tom Cruise's acting in this, in my opinion, is still a little rough around the edges. Yep, it's a little too on the nose, and then you've got Val Kilmer as the cool, collected Iceman, which is also a little bit of a caricature. And Goose is the thread that makes all of those performances better just by him.
Agreed.
What he does on the screen.
Agreed.
So Anthony Edwards is pretty crushing in this. Yeah. And then, of course, we move on to the fantastic Kelly McGillis. And Rob has some things to say about...
So, Kelly McGillis, she's coming off of Witness, right, where she gets a BAFTA nomination, Golden Globe nomination, right? Still relatively unknown. Not sure if you can bank on her. And then she gets this part in what ends up being the biggest blockbuster of the year, right? So it's really interesting to talk about the character of Charlie, and you're wondering where in the process they signed Kelly McGillis on. Because Charlie, in some original iterations, was like a pilot groupie. Like she would have been one of those floozies at the bar in the opening scene. And that's just like, well, that ruins the whole damn thing.
Right.
That basically turns us into an officer and a gentleman, right? that's what it becomes. At one point, she was supposed to be a gymnast. Like,
what?
I don't know how that fits in, but, having dated a gymnast years ago, that would have worked out well for Mav. I'm just saying that's where it would have been. And then, while the producers were doing, site visits and learning and talking to naval personnel, in walks this woman named, where's her first name? I know her last name is Fox because that just kind of stuck with me. Where is it? Where's her name?
I don't know, man.
Christine Fox.
Christine,
Thank you,
yeah.
Christine
Okay.
Fox. Right. Christine Fox walks in, tall, blonde, leggy, stiletto heels.
Okay.
You hear her clonking down the hallway when she's walking, right? And every head turns when she walks in. She works at the Center for Naval Analyses, which is literally across the street from Top Gun. And her call sign was legs, right?
It's
but
awesome.
she basically did what Charlie does in the movie, right? I mean, she's like a mathematical analysis person, right? And so she works for them, and she eventually goes on and becomes the acting U.S. Deputy Secretary of Defense for a few months in 2013 and 2014, making her the highest ever ranking female officer in the Defense Department.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
But they saw this woman and they're like, who the hell is that? And then they talk to Christine Fox and they're like, well, this is what we
way
need in
better.
the movie.
This is way better.
We need one of her, right?
Yeah.
And so they changed the character. They changed Charlie into this. And this is why I think the movie works, right? Because think about it. At the time, most women just are vapid sex objects,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Well, by
Which
and
is
large,
what-
yeah.
Well,
which is what
especially in a
Mav-
movie like this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For
right,
sure.
exactly.
Yeah.
Especially testosterone movie, right? Which is what Mav essentially assumes she is at the beginning of the movie, right?
For sure.
Or the movie itself is about them building up their character and their self-confidence, right? And so by the end of the movie, they're a whole person. Charlie starts out that way, right? She is self-confident. She is incarnate. She has all of her stuff together. And she goes after what she wants, what works for her. When she first invites Mav over, it's like, yeah, I brought you over here because I need to learn about the MIG because it's going to get me a promotion, right? And then, he walks in. It's even one little line, I think, spells her whole character. He walks in, he's late for dinner, and he says, do you mind if I go take a shower first? And she's like, yes, I do mind. I'm hungry.
Yep.
I mean, that's it. It's about me, and that's
Yep.
because it makes her a round character. She's the reason Mav comes back. She's the reason there is an end of the movie because he was running away, right? She's the linchpin. And that's why it's so great, which makes you wonder, like actresses for our entire lives and still today are saying there's not enough good roles for women, right? Why doesn't one of these well-respected, well-connected women, I mean, why isn't Gina Davis or Tatum O'Neal or Michelle Pfeiffer or Ali Sheedy or somebody who's already established not jumping at this role? I think they just saw Airplanes and said, well, I'm not going to be in a testosterone movie. And they all missed out.
Yeah.
And Kelly
So,
McGillis
I don't disagree.
knocked it out of the park.
Was the leg/Fox role, was that established in the script by the time they signed Kelly McGillis, or did it come after the fact?
That's what I'm not sure about.
Okay.
I wonder how much of it changed between hiring Kelly McGillis and the movie being shot. So maybe the established actresses saw earlier drafts and just completely dismissed
Okay.
it because
Okay.
she wasn't legs yet.
Yeah.
So maybe that's it.
Yeah, maybe that's a pretty good point, actually.
And that brings us to the other female co-lead.
Co-lead is rich, but I'll give it to you. Thank you for that.
My girlfriend from high school, ladies and gentlemen, my girlfriend, Miss Meg Ryan.
Oh, I didn't know. Congratulations.
Yes, it was delightful. Meg Ryan played Carol Bradshaw, the wife of Naval Officer Nick Goose Bradshaw. She gets in several of the best lines of the movie. Of course, the "Hey Goose, you big stud, take me to bed or lose me forever." And
Show me the way, honey.
she was
My favorite line
such
of the
an
whole movie.
iconic actress of the 80s. And I will not lie that I based my vision of what a proper relationship should be based on Goose and Meg Ryan. in that
Well,
movie.
lucky for you that you married
You could
me.
do a lot worse. You could do a lot worse.
They were fun. They were silly. There was nothing, at least when they were in public, nothing. There was no tension, and they're just like, this is us, and we're awesome. I think this dude is great. I think this chick is amazing. We have a family. Like their relationship is nothing but pure fun and love. And for the few
100%.
minutes they're on the screen together, those two actors combining for that role literally shaped that's what I want out of life. I want that kind of relationship.
Right. And of course, your 14, 15-year-old self, when you first watched this, saw that and literally saw quite literally 127 seconds of their relationship.
Sure.
That doesn't mean you were wrong at all. Of course, they're going to fight about who changes the diaper and who feeds the kid, and you forgot to do the laundry and all the stuff we all do. But my favorite, so that's my favorite line in the movie: "Take me to bed or lose me forever," because she shouts it in public which, we were just talking about, like, does it age well? And that is a thing that was absolutely too much to bear back in the 80s. If you did that, like, okay, every single person was on you. I don't know. I was 15. But I believe we've come a long way, baby, from that. Like, now you could do that. You'd be like, you, come talk to me.
I would like to point out
in a bar, but you couldn't do that then, and yet she did because she knew her man and she knew her
before,
relationship.
before you
interruption,
move on,
we have-
Scotty.
Yeah, we just want to say we have South Africa and Australia and the U.S. and Canada represent the chat room so far. Very international.
Cheers, you guys.
Nice.
Go ahead, Robbie.
Cheers.
Hit it, Robbie.
Also, keep in mind, we were teenagers at the time. And
Yeah.
when you're teenagers, you don't want anyone looking at you. When you get old enough, you don't give a crap if anybody's looking at you. So there's also that part of it. The two of them, we're in love. We're here together. Nobody else matters.
Right.
We could be alone in this bar, and I'd say it exactly the same way and exactly the
That's
same
what was
thing.
great.
My
as
baby's
when there's
in the
50
room with
people
us,
around.
and I'm still doing it because
Nothing
he needs
wrong
to
with
know
that.
this is how we love each other. Yeah, exactly.
So when
Paramount wasn't happy with Meg Ryan being cast because she was basically a soap opera actress at the time. This is really her first movie role.
Is that
and
right?
Thank goodness they did, because after this is when she takes off.
Okay. Okay. And we also have the UK in the house, so that's at least 5 nations now. Let's see. Rob, we're going to move on from my girlfriend, Meg Ryan.
You chose well as
I
a
did.
teenager.
To my-
I mean,
to my-
you really did.
And now I've
Three
I've
boyfriends?
upgraded
What?
now because
Come on.
I would say our relationship is to some degree. There's a lot of PDA. There's a lot of public. There's a lot of just shouting across rooms at each other. And I'm still influenced by this movie and my whole life long. Rob, let's talk about Viper. Let's talk about the other guys. Tom Skerritt,
Viper,
Michael
Jester.
Merlin. Let's get into
Merlin.
it.
Yep. So, Tom Skerritt, Michael Ironside, Tim Robbins. I mean, you want to talk about just a collection of wonderful character actors, and they're so good at their roles. It takes a while before you start thinking about it. But then you watch this movie, boom, there's Michael Ironside. You're like, oh, well, he's got some gravitas. And then he introduces freaking Tom Skerritt walking down the middle of the room, right? I mean, it's just like the one time we see Viper up in the plane, going for one of the hops, right? And they're like, "Oh, great, Viper's here."
I know, and they do that
Yeah.
so well. Like, holy shit, okay.
Yeah, right, exactly, because they have that gravitas. Now it's cool. Skerritt's character, who was the head of Top Gun, call sign Viper, right? They got that name. It's an homage to U.S. Navy Rear Admiral Pete Pettigrew, who was an instructor at Top Gun at the time and the tech advisor on the movie. His call sign was Viper.
I saw that in the credits.
They just shoved that right over, right? And actually, Pete Pettigrew's in the movie too. The older guy that Charlie's sitting with at the bar, and
Is
when
that
they first
right?
meet him,
Holy crap.
that's Pete Pettigrew. Yeah, exactly right. So way to go. And Michael Ironside was so convincing in an officer because they wore, actual naval gear, and they were walking around in Miramar, which is a
Okay.
naval base. That at one point he was on one floor and he heard a sailor, running at the deck below him, and he yelled at him. And the sailor stopped, saluted, and stopped running, and then walked away.
Hey,
Just
Jenna Leah,
Michael
nice to
Ironside's
see you.
Oh yeah, I got it. Yeah, I got it. I think I might convince people that this part is real. So
I will break in
yeah.
right now before we go on and say 2 things. Number one, Scott and I live in San Diego, where this movie is based. And earlier in this cast, you heard planes fly overhead because our windows are open because it's June. And they came from Naval Air Base Miramar, which is about 1.5 miles east of us directly. Also, in a lot of these, in a lot of the scenes outside, and you see these beautiful, archway buildings with the cannonade, where you walk. All of that. If you ever visit San Diego, go to Liberty Station. Liberty Station is now a food event, mini golf sort of a. You go and hang out there. That's where this movie was filmed in 1986 when it was an active naval training facility. So you can literally go and hang out there now, go to Stone Brewing and have a few brews and play some bocce ball right where they had all their
amazing.
big,
Walking
are we
around
going to
there.
kick them out of the Navy kind of
You
meetings.
two ever just walk over there and yell at each other to take yourselves to bed or lose you forever?
Yes,
Is that
we
something
do.
that you
All
do?
the time.
We've been, that bar is downtown and we've been there. We're going to take you there when
We're
you
going
come
to
out
take you there
this
when you come
summer.
out, Rob. Rob's going to come out. We're going to work on some stuff. It's going to be great. Let's get into our our favorite things. Robbie, well, let's
No,
see.
no,
What
first.
did I miss
Wait,
an actor?
there's
You
still
missed one.
Who?
There's still one actor.
There's
Scott.
still one actor.
Oh,
An actor.
God.
Oh my
What's wrong
goodness
with me?
gracious, you guys!
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to point out my favorite actor of all time. The man with the most manly name in the history of mankind. This guy on the screen, I'm Whip Hubley. Whip Hubley plays Hollywood, who in this review of his actions, he's in here mostly so that I can say, I'm Whip Hubley and I don't age. That's it. That's pretty much
That's
it.
why
That's
you
it.
wanted him in
That's
there,
it.
so you could say
and then
Whip
there's-
Hubley a few
this
times.
is a picture of, I'm Whip Hubley, and sometimes hot tubs don't go well for me.
Good call. Now we can move on to our favorite
Now we
things.
can
Let's
move
move
on.
on. So I almost forgot all. I did forget all about that. Let's go to our favorite things. Who is up first? Rob, your favorite, or what are your favorite thing about the Top Gun?
When I think of this movie, I go right to the music. There's just something about the music, the soundtrack, the Kenny Loggins, the Berlin, the lover boy that's in this movie.
Huge
Plus,
songs.
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, it won the Oscar for best original song. Berlin
know that.
wins it for
Yeah.
"Take My Breath Away," right? Yeah, and Kenny Loggins became huger and huger. Started with Footloose, then moves up from here, and it's just freaking huge as can be. And Harold Faltermeyer, who does the score, right? And he was famous at the time because he did the score for Beverly Hills Cop and Fletch.
Okay.
But the Axel F song, do 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 do, that's Harold Faltermeyer, right? But they weave music into this movie so well. I mean, the first thing you hear, you don't see anything. You're seeing the Paramount logo, and already the electronic drum beat is there. Right? And then they get the front card where it tells you about what Top Gun is, and then that beat goes directly into the guitar, the slamming guitar of Danger Zone. I mean, it's just everything. Plus, music plays a huge role in this movie.
It's
Sitting
huge.
on the dock of the bay, Great Balls of Fire. These are points of the movie where things happen, all based around music. And so they sold 4 million copies originally. Sold another 5 million copies when they re-released it in 1999.
Jesus
It's
Christ.
like everybody bought it again. So yeah, it's like nine times platinum.
Holy crap. And
Yeah,
Danger
crazy.
Zone, if you're a fan of Archer, fan of the show Archer, which
Oh,
is
for
nothing
sure,
but
yeah.
80s references, Danger Zone! And I would like to point out, we watched this last night, I think it's 4 separate times.
Yeah.
They play the song Danger Zone. Usually in a movie, you hear that iconic song once. They were like, this is good. Just keep throwing that shit on the stage. Just do it.
That
Absolutely,
guitar
yeah.
sounds awesome. We're launching planes. Play it again.
And your favorite thing?
Okay, so my favorite things, I will say, out of the 3 hosts that you are watching now, I am the most native to San Diego, where Top Gun was filmed. I moved here in 1996, and I have been here ever since. So I'm not a native. I'm definitely a New Yorker, but that's my favorite part of this movie. The fact, 2 things. How there are so many Navy pilots and sailors in this movie that you see on screen, and they are not credited as actors, although they were paid as actors, which I love. And so much of the acrobatic flight that you see was done by actual pilots and
Right.
Navy pilots, and also aerobatic pilots for sure. And I love that the most. I love that they just integrated the naval, the skill set. They didn't ask them to act, and they didn't try and fly, which I know they wouldn't have been able to do, but they didn't try and make it look. They did all sorts of close-ups in the cockpit,
Right.
and then they let these actors do their thing on the deck of the aircraft carriers, in the classrooms, and in the hangars, and obviously in the sky. And I love that so much. I also love the Navy as a character, the Navy as a good, solid thing, not for America, but for these people trying to make a good thing. It's this inside, you don't see this a lot. A lot of times when you see the military in movies, the military is the perfect character. The military is the might.
Right.
And here, there's people trying to be as good as they deserve to be in the Navy. And I love that a whole lot too. So my favorite things are the same things that I see in San Diego all the time with this as a part of our community. How about
And
you?
My
And
favorite
the
thing.
pilots, the pilots are so good. It's all practical effects.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not special effects in this movie. It's all
Absolutely, yeah.
practical effects. It's pretty impressive.
It's pretty impressive. My favorite thing would have been music, but Rob got on my 6, and then I got caught in a flat spin. And prop wash is a beast,
It
y'all.
wasn't your fault, though. There's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do.
So
You
Scott,
absolved
was yours,
of all obligation.
homoerotic, topless, jeans wearing volleyball. Was that your favorite thing? Because
That's my second. That's my second favorite thing. My second favorite thing is my first favorite thing is how perfectly 80s cheese this is. The plaintive long stares, the 7-second to 10-second shots held on someone's face as they're just gazing out. Kelly McGillis with her fingers always like all the straight cheese to the cheese. Which when we watch this, what A pointed out last night is if you watch Top Gun and then you ever watch a Saturday Night Live skit where they're making fun of a melodramatic movie, they are role playing Top Gun. That is why it is my favorite thing. But there's another thing. With my other favorite thing is, ladies and gentlemen, we got to talk about. Let's go back.
Oh yeah.
Let's go back to Maine for a second. Ladies and gentlemen, Heartbeat Hot Sauce. We've got Rob, you're off the screen now, but we can hear your voice just fine. Baby, would you Vanna White this?
I would.
And
I'd
show-
love to.
hear my drool? Can you hear me
Oh,
drooling?
this crap is so good. I shouldn't say crap. Don't call the
oh.
advertising
No,
crap.
no, you're advertising it too. We got to get you
It's
some
very
of this
good.
right
Here we go.
here.
Oh, I ordered some. I used
sweet.
the keyword Sigler and got a 20% discount.
If you guys
the
go to
best thing
heartbeathotsauce.com, the code Sigler saves you 20%. All of Heartbeat hot sauces are made with natural ingredients and no preservatives. They use no thickening agents or water, unlike most other sauces. And peppers are traditionally fermented for 45 days before being aged to maximum flavor. The sauces are flavor forward and heat balanced, which A is not as into the hot sauce as I am.
I would love to be, but I can't tolerate
It's
it.
not her thing, but she has been able to eat most of these. These are very approachable even for a non-hot sauce person. We can attest to that.
Oh, that's really true.
Yeah, it's very true. They have an extremely versatile flavor assortment, and there's something for every food you're eating. The call to action, we got to do the call to action. That's what we do. Heartbeat Hot Sauce is hooking up my listeners for a special deal. Go to heartbeathotsauce.com. Use the promo code Sigler at checkout, 20% off your entire purchase. You can also go to the site to find your closest retailer and get your hands on the hottest hot sauce so far, the Scorpion. It's so hot, you might say it's goodness gracious, great balls of fire hot is what you might
nicely
say.
done. That's this one. That's
But
this one, Scorpion.
If you find out where you can buy these in stores, you don't save the 20%. Father's Day is coming up. They've got an awesome assemble any of their, I think, 13 or 14 flavors into a 4-pack. Get that for your pops. HeartbeatHotSauce.com. Go there, use the code Sigler, save 20% off, and let's get back to Top Gun.
Well, I will
That's
also
it.
say this, you guys. So we have 7 bottles, and these are the 4 of the 5 that are open because we don't have that much room.
Scorpion's good.
Yeah,
Rabbit is good.
Scorpion and habanero I can't try because I can't. I love hot stuff, but I can't tolerate it.
Okay.
Pineapple habanero and jalapeno
The-
and hedonist. Oh my god,
The jalapeno is incredible. It's incredible. It's not hot at all, but man, that stuff is
pineapple
absolutely
jalapeno.
delicious.
You mean?
No, just the jalapeno.
Oh,
the
really?
green one.
Oh, the
you
green
can-
one.
the green
Yes,
one.
yes. The habanero, I don't think I'll try though.
Ollie Kirby asked if they ship internationally. We don't know. We haven't looked that up yet. America Privilege. We haven't bothered to, but they are a Canadian company. They are the Thunder Bay, Ontario. They're out Thunder Bay, Ontario, and so if we count them, that's another country on this cast. We are just crushing it.
We're crazy.
We are crushing it.
I just saw the name Hedonist and assumed they made a bottle of that specifically for me, so that's definitely part of my order.
For sure.
Steve Compton ordered some. We can see that in the chat room. Dead Pet says would so buy that stuff. Dude, just buy it. It's delicious. All right, let's move on to general notes.
Oh, so I wanted to say one of my favorite things about the movie, like I mentioned, was sort of the aerobatic pilots and stuff. And I wanted to say that at the time in 1986, one of the most renowned aerobatic pilots or acrobatic pilots. I keep saying aerobatic. That's about birds.
I don't think that's a word.
Yeah, acrobatic pilots. His name was Art Scholl, and he was killed during filming of this movie. Scholl was attempting to create a flat spin so an onboard camera could capture it for the film, so it would look like that. And however, the aircraft failed to recover from the spin. Scholl radioed back to the tower saying, "I have a problem. I have a real problem." And then he crashed into the Pacific Ocean, and neither the body or his body or the plane were ever recovered. Even to this day, I looked it up. Ooh. And so the film is dedicated to him. The very last frame is about Art Scholl and dedicated to him. In San Diego, there's a whole bunch of plane contests and stuff in the summertime. It's called Thunder Week, and it's super fun. And they always have a tribute to Art Scholl because San Diego misses him for that reason.
This is a great one. Scott Altman, who would later go on to be a NASA astronaut, was one of the 4 Navy pilots chosen to represent the actors in the flying scenes. And this incredibly accomplished man who traveled far in the naval ranks and who became an astronaut, a very, very rare group of individuals. He is the pilot in the famous flipping the bird scene. That is his finger.
I mean, wow, you guys, though.
Well, now the other pilot had to be just as accomplished because we know they were inverted. Correct. But so the guy that gets flipped off was naval aviator Robert Willard, who was the lead flight choreographer of the film. He eventually becomes an admiral in the Navy and was the commander of the U.S. Pacific Fleet.
Holy
at one
crap.
point. So, I mean, we're talking about, they picked some pretty good freaking pilots to be part of Top Gun, no doubt about it, which is why the flight scenes are so freaking awesome.
And almost everything is, if not everything, is a practical effect. It's awesome.
Exactly right.
There were some video effects, but there were, clearly when the two planes are this far apart flying, that's comped together. But overall, it goes back to the original Star Wars before CGI came in. While some of the effects are a little janky, overall it looks much more realistic.
Yeah.
And there weren't computer graphics at the time that were suitable for this, but that's why it ages so well. Yeah. When you see bad computer graphics, they do not age well at all.
Yeah, no, they don't.
If you guys hear that plane, if you can hear that on the cast, that's from Miramar. So we planned that. It's not just noise.
I would like to point this out that the Top Gun video game was a big deal on the Nintendo when I was a freshman in college. And I actually skipped classes to play the Top Gun video game. I was cutting weight madly for wrestling, and me and my roommate Andre, and it was Andre, call sign Death Ray Ridley, and Scott, call sign Mad Doberman Sigler. We're a couple of 18-year-olds. The Mad Doberman. I was part of my I was in a tag team. There was Doberman and Rottweiler, the rabid dogs. It was me and Polly Big Nuts Myers.
Nobody was a min pin.
There were no min pins.
Because my min pin is fierce.
There were no min pins. But we would play this game nonstop, and it was I can't have it now. If we have the 1988 version of Top Gun in the house, I will do nothing else.
Also, you guys,
let's
just so you know,
remember the F-14 pinball game that was at Papa J's in Sheboygan.
Oh, geez, OP.
That I believe Jeff Rappelgee poured every dollar he ever made into that game. We called it the Big Lie. Him and Bob Gilliland would just stand at that machine for about 6 hours every night playing the F-14 pinball game. Fantastic.
So I will say, I told the story to Scott last night when we were rewatching this movie and said, I can't talk about it on the cast because it just doesn't fit in. And he was like, you're going to have to tell this on the cast.
Nice.
So I remember going to this movie, and back in the day, in my life, I had a crew of friends, about 12 people who were boys and girls both. And we would always go on Friday night. You know, your mom drives, my mom picks up, whatever.
The old days.
We'd go
Pick us
to
up after the movie.
We'd go to the RKO Theater and we would watch a movie on Friday nights. And we watched Top Gun. And then afterwards, we would walk to Friendly's, which was it's like a Denny's with ice cream. And we would go there to get ice cream. And when I remember to this day how all the boys in our group, and we're all 14, 15, 16 years old, were very manly after they strode in.
Can you do the striding in?
I can. I have to take off my headphones, so you're going to have to narrate.
We have to do this. Go.
So, and we were confused by it, but here's sort of what happened.
So this is describing the boys who were boys before the movie and then were men walking into Friendly's.
Yes. I'm a man. I take up space.
How do they ask for the table, babe?
I'm strutting.
Do you have a table for 10? And we were like this. So here's the thing. We were already, I had a boyfriend, right? And I was already digging my boyfriend. But that night we were like, okay, guys, this seems fine, right? There's nothing wrong, right? Are they breathing? Are they breathing in? Are they breathing in?
And another nice note from the movie, the classic scene where after McGillis tells Cruz she didn't want anyone to find out she was falling for him, Cruz kisses her, And that wasn't planned because baby actor Tom Cruise forgot his lines, so he just kissed her. Tony Scott liked it and kept it. And A and I were noticing that line, like, I don't want anyone to know that I've fallen so hard for you. And like the next 8 scenes are basically them making out on base somewhere.
Or at Kansas City Barbecue, which is where all the plebes go, but they're not going to let anybody know. Jenny, I love that you love Friday. You love Friendlies. I love that. That's so cool.
So it's interesting when you're talking about scenes between McGillis and Cruise. McGillis is actually 3 inches taller than Tom Cruise is. Tom Cruise is only 5'7". He's a little feller. And you know, he later in his career, he made it part of his contract that all of his co-stars had to be shorter than he was, so that he didn't look short. So there's very few scenes where you see the full bodies of McGillis and Cruise because he's wearing lifts. They're putting him on a platform. They're putting her in a hole in the ground or something so that they're at least equally tall, if he's not taller. Like the first time you see them both standing up is in the bathroom. She leans against the counter while he is standing tall so that she is a little shorter than he is. So yeah, it's they had to shoot around how much taller she was. Plus, her character wears heels everywhere. Yeah. It's the whole point of the character. Yeah.
You can see a little bit.
They constantly had to shoot around that.
You can see, even with the adjustments and like the elevator scene, he's staying in lifts, you can see that they have a different physicality. She just looks like a bigger human being than he does. Yep. And it was, as a former wrestler, you become very adept at looking at people engaging how much they weigh. It's just a thing that we all pick up over the time. And you look at that, you're like, oh, she's a lot bigger than he is. You can figure that out. So
no doubt about it. Yep.
So Scott brought up one thing after the line, which turns out to have been ad-libbed on camera with the kiss. You know, I don't want anybody to find out about this and then the kiss. We do see them dozens of times in public doing inappropriate things for a student and a teacher.
Very inappropriate.
That said, there is also this that exists with Maverick. Maverick does so many things that would absolutely get him thrown in the brig.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Instantly booted. And the Navy has a thing called excellence without arrogance. In case you just recently watched Top Gun, I'll repeat it. The Navy to this day has a credo that is excellence without arrogance.
Wow.
That mofo.
Without. Oh, that was
that
the
tiny mofo.
Oh, without. Oh.
Dude, he would never have made it to Top Gun school if he'd buzzed the tower 5 times without permission in other places. He never would have gotten to Top Gun. And he would have gotten thrown in the brig the very first day he was there.
Let's talk about
just buzzing Penny Benjamin would have been enough to get him kicked out.
Let's talk about the final buzzing the tower. They've just been in a dogfight with 6 MiGs. One of the F-15s is completely shot to hell as an engine out, and they're like, "We're just gonna go buzz the tower together."
That's
it's
fine.
like, no, you land the goddamn plane.
Yeah.
That was crazy. Land a plane.
And there are so many little tiny moments. And again, I will remind you, this is sort of the first of the movies like Independence Day, Armageddon, War of the Worlds.
Okay.
These giant, we don't care about the minutia and the details. Crimson Tide, everybody on that submarine had the same insignia, had the same, like they were ready to go.
Got the real.
Yeah. There's no Top Gun school. That's not a thing. There's no Top Gun award. That's not a thing.
No Top Gun award. Yes,
well, it's not called Top Gun school, but it's not called Top Gun school.
Yeah, you either pass or don't pass.
I was about to say, there's no Top Gun school.
I don't think it's called Top Gun school.
Okay.
But maybe it is. Maybe I'm wrong.
It's still, it's called the official,
casually, colloquially
flight
called
aviator, fighter, blah, blah, blah.
But still actively, they call it Top Gun school.
They call it Top
Yeah, but there isn't a trophy. And there's certainly
not a
no
trophy.
plaque.
You either pass or you don't pass. That's it. There's no competition.
Yeah. I will also point out, I feel like Ice, even though we all love to hate him,
I didn't hate him.
well, you kind of don't love him because you want Maverick to win.
I didn't want Maverick to win.
Oh, okay.
I didn't.
So
I didn't
I
like
feel
him.
like-
I thought he was a wild card. I thought he was unpredictable.
He was only about to get...
If
Did
he
you
was
think
a cop,
he was
if he was a cop, I would have asked for
dangerous?
yes, I would have asked for his gun and his badge. I would have busted his ass back down to traffic. That's what I would have done. Don't need a wild
Yeah, but
card
you
in my
were-
precinct.
You were rooting for Goose, and they were attached at the hip.
God,
Sorry,
dang it,
buddy.
that's true.
But
That's
here's
true.
the thing. if you remove Val Kilmer's performance and just look at Iceman's words, Iceman is the traditional U.S. Navy.
He's a little tall for it, though, I think. The Navy pilots are a little shorter by on average.
I'm saying if you remove Val Kilmer's physicality and also his attitude and everything, and you just read his lines, he is the traditional, to this day, U.S. Navy. What we need is for you to be a team player. The problem with you is that you're dangerous. It's that you don't think about the rest of us. He's not saying anything that we wouldn't want. That's also a fighter pilot.
However, would any of us, while saying his lines, have done the tooth chomp?
No,
I'm not sure any of us would have done that.
Which is why I had to take out the physicality and the acting.
The last point I will make, and then everybody will make a finishing point as we finish up our hour here of talking about Top Gun, is I thought Val Kilmer's strongest scene, one of the strongest scenes in the whole movie, was that thing Rob mentioned where he's trying to find the words to console his archenemy about his archenemy's best friend who is now dead. I thought that was very, in the world of testosterone dudes who are trying really hard to, to achieve, to be number one, etc., that his stumbling through those lines was excellent. And then he didn't even have like a resolution, or he didn't find the words at the end. He just said, sorry, and then just jetted. It was fantastic.
And I also
he was in the moment.
Yeah.
I was about to say, this is how we interact with each other as people. Like, it's hard to do the hard things, You
could see his brain working and something that his brain normally doesn't have to work at. Yeah.
So my last favorite thing is, or favorite last thought is, the Navy. I mentioned at the top of the hour, the Navy actively promoted the Navy at the release of Top Gun because it was such a great commercial, so to speak. And to capitalize on the film's popularity, the Navy set up recruitment booths outside theaters
Good thing
in
they
order
didn't do
to
that in Sheboygan, because we would have signed out.
in order to recruit moviegoers to join the Navy. They reportedly got a 500% boost in applications.
Wow.
And I love that. This
That's
is a smart way
fantastic.
to capitalize on
Yeah,
that.
it's incredible. I wonder if that's why Bob Gilland signed up for the Air Force, probably because he saw Top Gun. Like, yep, that sounds good.
Possible.
I'll do that.
Yeah, he was going to be a pilot. That was his plan. So,
Yep.
absolutely.
Rob, what is your final point about the movie?
My last thing is, bringing up the Navy and the Pentagon. They were very involved in the whole shooting of this movie. They got paid $1.8 million plus to use their aircraft and their aircraft carriers and that kind of stuff. And they were still active duty things. They had to do all this stuff in addition to everything else, their normal duties, right? But they had to pay them. I mean, literally, there's one shot that Tony Scott wants the sunset behind the aircraft carrier. So he has to get the aircraft carrier to turn around 180 degrees. Wow. And the captain's like, absolutely, just write me a check for $25,000. And Tony Scott just wrote him a check for $25,000, and they turned the ship around. Yeah, which again, one of the reasons why Tony Scott got fired 3 times.
Yeah. Because, of course, go ahead.
What you may not know is they also had script approval. The Pentagon did.
They do for Maverick too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They went over it with a fine-tooth comb and took out a bunch of stuff. For instance, Cougar was originally supposed to die crashing his plane into the aircraft carrier at the beginning of the movie, and that's why he doesn't go to Top Gun.
Okay.
Goose was supposed to die because of a mid-air collision between 2 planes, and basically the Pentagon said it makes our pilots look like they're crappy. We don't
Which is
want
true.
that. So they had to change those 2 circumstances. Because the Pentagon said, you're not going to shoot this movie with us unless you change those things. So,
I didn't realize that about Goose, but I have to say it made the movie better. That Tom Cruise is the one who supports him. So he does, that's way more powerful.
No doubt about it.
Yeah,
And
way more powerful.
That canopy thing actually happened. They brought that from practical. That happened to somebody in the Navy. That guy actually lived, but they said, when they tried to brainstorm ideas of how he could still die, they said, here's something that happened that might have killed somebody.
And they went with
Yeah.
that. That's crazy.
Canopy thing.
It's
And I can't even imagine it the other way with the same impact.
Right. Yeah, exactly right.
For sure.
Yeah.
So I think that's it, you guys.
Yeah. Well
Thank
done.
you both so much for co-hosting with me. We have, you guys who are listening and watching at home, you know that we have moved StorySmack to once a month right now. It is now the second Saturday of every month, which means we 3 will be back on July 10th, and we will be discussing The Avengers in anticipation of Black Widow releasing on July 9th. next month.
Yeah, cannot wait for that. Very excited about the Black Widow movie. Very excited. And Rob knows quite a lot about the Avengers. Quite a lot.
I'm
so it'll be
super
very
excited
fun.
because I believe it or not, I've never seen the Avengers.
What?
I know.
that's,
you guys saw it together, so I never saw
Yeah,
it.
that's the two British spies, right? Isn't that the Avengers?
It is.
Right?
It is
Isn't that-
in the black.
Yeah, is that what we're talking
black
about?
jumpsuits.
Hey, the
Yeah.
black leather. I'll watch the black leather jumpsuit any day. Any
Yeah,
day.
for Emma
black
Peel?
vinyl.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Emma
I think it's a
Peel.
black
Oh, yeah.
vinyl jumpsuit.
That's even better.
Even better.
Even better.
Robbie, thank you so much for joining us. We will see you
Bye,
next
guys.
month.
See y'all next month.
See ya.
All righty, you guys. I think that actually wraps us up for episode 72 of StorySmack. You can find Scott and I online all the time. Scott is at Scott Sigler at Twitter and Instagram, and is Facebook.com/Scott Sigler on Facebook. I am at A Real Girl on Twitter and at a.real.girl on Instagram.
You can find us online for this show at facebook.com/StorySmack, which one of these days I'm actually going to update, I swear to God. We live stream StorySmack every other Saturday at facebook.com/Scott Sigler, twitch.tv/Scott Sigler, and youtube.com/Scott Sigler. So if you're hearing this in the podcast feed and you want to join us live, second Saturday of every month, you get to see Rob Otto's smiling face and watch us have a good time talking about movies and stories and storytellers.
And in addition to StorySmack, we do a weekly live stream called Sigler in Place. It's on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific time, right here where you're watching this.
And we release an unabridged episode of one of my serialized novels every week. You get episodes for free every Sunday via iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more. Just go to scottsigler.com/subscribe, get the links, sign up, and get my stuff in your ears.
And as ever, we really do hope that you subscribe so you can hear Scott's books and more StorySmack goodness in the future.
And until the next episode, thank you to our sponsor for this episode, Heartbeat Hot Sauce, and the free hot sauce alone that we got for sponsoring. Stuff is great. Until
I don't know how to do it with the camera.
until the next episode of StorySmack, we will talk to you all real soon.
We love you guys.